Second to turn the streaming on. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's 3-day weekend, Recruiter Roundtable, Season 2, number 15, I think. We're in an open discussion. There were some notes in the links that some stuff we talk about. So that's what we're going to do today, and welcome as usual. So, hey, everybody. So what I wanted to bring up is Ernie and Kelly both had approached me and asked me if I knew anything about the Recruiter Toolbox. Is that what it's called?
It's called, what the hell do they call it?
Yes, David says yes.
So it's the Pete Lefkowitz.
Yes.
If anybody knows, Morgan Consulting, named his consulting firm after his horses. He has Morgans. So he's been around for a long time. I've actually been to a couple of his seminars, and he spoke at one of the management recruiters meetings. We bought a bunch of his videos. He's got some good stuff. And as I was telling, there it is right there. As I was telling Kelly yesterday, a lot of touchy-feely stuff, right? He's real big into, we were at a meeting today talking about you specifically. Your name came up, and after that meeting, I was excited to reach out to you because I only reach out to the top 1% of talent. Like, he's real touchy-feely. Like, if you watch the Mena video that Ben just put out that has him on there, his stuff is very cerebral, very, like I said, touchy-feely. So he has some good stuff. I remember the first one I went to, he went through this whole process of what you needed to do to, like his process. And one of the things he had is that you go out and sit outside this client you're trying to get's office and look at what everybody's wearing. So you get an idea about their culture, right? And then you go and you sit and you ruse. He did a ruse call demonstration. If anybody doesn't know what a ruse call is, it's, hi, can I talk to, I'm sorry, I think her name is Sherry. She's in accounting. Oh, no, all we have is Huff and Kelly in accounting. Oh, I'm sorry. Click, and then you write those names down and you keep doing that. He wanted you to do their entire, corporate structure. So when you go to the first meeting, you pull that out and show them that you map their entire corporate structure. This is before internet. Over the phone to show how good of a sourcing team you have. He's got some real in-depth stuff. So, but that being said, if you watch the video that Mena has, it's a 15-minute video, his recruiting toolbox impressed the shit out of me. He had some really good rebuttals in there that I didn't even think, stuff I didn't think of saying. And it's $400 a month, unlimited number of users, but it's per office. So it's expensive for me or for Kelly or Ernie, but if you have an office of 10 people, it's only $400. And it's basically this, you pop it open, and if the client says something, you hit the panic button, and whatever the client said, there's a rebuttal for it. What is that, Mar?
It's another person that has a lot of great resources. If you're looking for resources, Greg Hawkes is who has the other site.
Is it similar to
similar but different?
Okay. So yeah, so I think, as I was telling Kelly, basically Lefkowitz took everything that's out there, right? Everything that Next Level Exchange, everything that Bill what's his name, Radner, right? And everything that Finkel, and took that all, right? And made it his own and put it into this toolbox and then added some other stuff to it. So it's kind of interesting. Has anybody here tried it, used it? Does anybody know what the hell I'm talking about?
Peter Lefkowitz training?
Specifically the recruiting toolbox that he does.
Oh, I went through, when I was in agency, we did Peter Lefkowitz training about the bouncy ball technique, which you basically described. And, when you had cold call to build out the org charts, until you figured out that you can hack the phone voicemail box systems and then leave voicemails afterward.
Okay, so the recruiting toolbox I think that you sent me is not the one I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about is on Morgan's page.
Yeah, he said that one earlier.
Yeah, Ernie sent me the link to it yesterday. I went out and looked at it.
It was a
pretty good. Yeah, it was a pretty good video where Ben Mena does it on his Elite Recruiter podcast, and the platform looks really good. Like you said, it's expensive. I think it would be great for somebody brand new coming into the business. If you don't have time to train them, I think it would be a
Yes.
really good opportunity because it has all the rebuttals. And I went through some of his training many, many years ago, and we used to use the Morgan Method planner. It was like an MRI planner. It was this big, long planner. You had to write everything out. So it's very MRI related from a training perspective. But we had two of my associates, gosh, probably in the late 90s, when he has a dude ranch out in like Wyoming or Colorado. And you can spend like 4 or 5 days there for recruiting.
Yeah. He's
for
got, because
recruiting
he owns
training.
Morgan
They did
horses.
that,
That's
like,
his big deal. Yeah, he's a horse owner.
Yeah. So he's pretty good. I mean, the platform looked great. I've never used it.
They're not doing that anymore. The reason I sent it out to all of you guys is because I'm more fascinated not by the subject matter so much as by how he put it out. Because it's the old thing about don't forget to write your scripts and memorize your objections. He's kind of like taking that step out a little bit so that you have this handy dandy kind of like, I'm freaking out, I hit it, and then on top of it though, you got to be a good reader. Because you got to be able to read things and just go. But if you start sounding like you're reading off the script, you're not a good actor. Then
and I probably have some back at my office. I'm working from home today, but he had these clear cubes, and they had rebuttals on each panel. So you flip them around. If you're on the phone with somebody, if they say this, do this. If they say this, do this. It was pretty cool. But now he's put it in, made it online. So that looks kind of neat. Yeah, there you go.
Something like this, This
there you go. You got it.
Ricky Retreat.
Anthony's got it.
According to Danny.
Oh, Tony, you got the Morgan Consulting Planner?
I have the planner.
Yeah.
So much easier than an ATS.
When I met MRI, we had this binder, and you open this binder up, and there was tabs. And if someone said, we don't pay fees, you grab that tab and pull to it, and there was the stuff to say there. It was the same stuff. That's what I was saying. Like, that's what he's done. He's taken all of that, right? The Morgan book, Ernie's book, the MRI binder, and he put it all electronic. Is basically what he did. And you're right. I think Tom was saying it's probably best. You get a bunch of new guys coming on board. It's great. Everything's right there at their fingertips, so they don't have to put you on hold and go, "What do I say next?" Right? Like it's not bad thing.
But it's funny that the thing that Anthony pulled up right now, it has it looked like a poster board. It was so big.
This one was smaller. My boss decided to save money and then had his own made at Office Depot at the time, and it was even bigger than this because you had to put 100 calls in this.
The management recruiters one was big too. It was probably about the size of that.
When I first got into this business, you had to fill that out every day. Your manager would come look at it before you left. So
I did that at 4 o'clock, man. I was filling out my plan, my 50 phone calls, who I was calling, my MPC, and then the other side was who you were marketing to, because it was supposed to be like one side was for recruiting and one was for marketing, but my boss wasn't a stickler. He wanted 50 calls planned. He didn't care if you were recruiting or for candidates or you were marketing. He wanted 50 calls planned out.
We even had a little section in there for Pojos.
Yeah.
Hey,
Tom, does anybody else raise a hand? Who knows what Pojo stands for? 3 of us? That's it?
The old game.
On existing job.
Exploso 2. That was another one.
Yeah.
MPCs, SOD, spins of the dial. SOD, remember that? SOD calls. We called them SOD calls. Spins of the dial. Old school recruiters.
we used to call them "Want to buy a chicken" call, because there was a guy called Phil Ross back in the '60s that was a recruiter and a recruiter trainer, and he used to do "Want to buy chicken? Want to buy chicken? Want to buy chicken?" That's basically what it was like.
They had on Ben Mena today. Bardos came out with a new interview with Ben, and it's kind of interesting as well with Bardos. Listening to what he's saying is now they're getting people. You know how you had your VAs, right? Well, now they're calling these guys like special dialists, people setting you up. So they're people like that are getting you the interviews, and they've trained them from whatever country they come from. And they tell you find somebody that's going to specialize in just setting up your interviews, your calendar, so you don't have to do that. So
set up your interview. So are you giving them the candidates?
You're giving them everything.
And saying here, I need to interview these 7 people, set up time so that I can interview these, or are they actually doing the recruiting too?
And so in their eloquence, they're going to call and talk, and so you don't have to do that. And then once you're there, it's set up, and you pay them your $6 to $8 an hour. But it's just, as you're looking at going forward in recruiting, what are the things that are going to come up? Like sourcing came up, and all these other little things that people did, the internal recruiting, the bigness on the internal recruiting, and figuring out you're hiring people that were used to be the receptionists, but now are the internal recruiters. And they're not, all they're doing is looking over resumes, but you gave them a nice title. But it's just an interesting way of watching as the whole industry of recruitment has evolved from 1995 to now. And the fact that the whole thing with in terms of using phone calls. I mean, I got a request today of a question that said, what are your thoughts on calling somebody at their office or emailing them at their office? And I'm thinking, why don't they come on the show? And why don't they come here and ask that question to all of you guys? And all of you guys will say the same thing. I don't know, just do it.
So Bernie and I were talking about this, and one of the, I got this from someone else. You just say, and it might be somebody on this group, Craig maybe. It says if you're sending an email, all you have is work. You put in there in the very beginning, I only have your work email. This is why I'm reaching out to you. If you have a different email, respond back with that or whatever, right? Like he puts that in there, and that's what I just, I don't care. I'll send the email to anybody, but if you have it kind of like you worry about that, friggin' just put that little disclaimer in there. This is the only email I had for you. That's why I'm contacting you at work.
And if they get all crazy on you anyway, so what the hell? It's not like the first person that's gotten crazy on you that day,
Yeah.
Why?
Also, it's like you're sending them because we had to send a bunch. I had some of them, I didn't have any personal emails on them. So, and I felt weird about that. And I talked to Tom about that. And I sent them. It's not like this person was talking to me. So basically I'm just explaining things. They're pretty vague the way I'm explaining it, but it's basically, I'm just reaching out to them. They want it, great. They don't, okay. I thought anybody get fired over that. It's like spam in a certain way.
Yeah, I say that all the time. What are they going to, like, if someone contacts you, right? Your boss is going to fire you for that because I sent you an email? And you should be talking to me because your boss is an asshole.
Can you imagine you have a department and all these recruiters are calling them, okay, you're fired. Okay, you're fired. You're fired. Hey, wait a minute, where's everybody at?
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that just blows my mind. Like, if you don't want to talk to me when I call you, hang up on me, fine. And people say to me, newbies, what if they get mad? Fine. What do they go? They're not going to come through the phone at you. No one's going to. I've never had anybody come to my office and knock on my door and go, I want to talk to that guy who called me. He's an asshole. Right? That's never going to happen.
And then you can get mad at them for coming to your office. At least I just called you, but you're coming to my office.
One of the greatest powers or things for me is when a client or when a candidate's boss calls me, it's like, why are you calling my people? Oh man, you didn't have no idea what you got yourself into. You're calling me to give me a hard time. Oh my God. And I roast them like you wouldn't believe. I love it.
The beauty of recruitment is this. If you've been in it for a long time, and some of us been in it like 20 years, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. And then you realize that there are many people that you've talked to over the phone. You know about their families, you know about their troubles and pluses and everything else. but you've never seen them in person, and you've never, and that's when you call yourself the Wizard of Oz. You know, I'm the man behind the curtain. I'm the lady behind the curtain. You know, get away, and it's just interesting that people will be calling you, hey man, I just got let go from my job. And why are you calling me? Hell, you just talked to me for the last 20 years. There's other people around you, but they're talking to you. And so really value that in terms of stepping back and looking at the relationship that you have created, because it is kind of unique and they do come to you. And I will tell you another thing. I've had that happen 2 or 3 times in the last week or two of people doing that to me. And then some have said, well, now I've got to go into this meeting for they're going to talk to me about my severance. Any thoughts? Anytime you have thoughts, you tell them what you think off the top of your head. And then you go to chat and you ask what topics should be covered. And you keep asking questions. And then you go back to them and you say, here's an email. I kept doing stuff. Number one, don't bring anything up. Let them throw everything. But these are the things that should be covered that'll cover your butt. Specifically, if you're an older person or you've been with the company for 20 years or whatever, have these things in mind. And I did that. And I sent it to him. But one thing that stuck out in reality was the guy was in his 60s. And I hadn't thought of this. He said, if you can, ask the company to carry your medical insurance until you're eligible for Medicare. And I said, it's 2 years. Yeah, hey, that's a great idea. Thank you, chat. So you throw it in there, you give it to them. But understand one thing, people are in pain. Yeah. They don't know what to do, and you're the doctor. And as you get that taken care of, you're that different recruiter from then on, because then they're your cousins. They're your family. Where they're going to end up somewhere. And you want them to think of you. So anytime you don't have an answer to their question, go, give me a few minutes. Let me get back to you. Let me do some research. And you go into your chat and you write your little questions there. You put in the specifics, and it'll give you some good feedback. And then you go back and pretend like you know what you're talking about. And you give it to them.
My big concern is that we're
it's obnoxious, but one of my favorite. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Huff. We can't hear you. Speak up.
I was going to say, my concern is we're talking about Medicare. I don't want to do that. Pick something the generation before that.
Oh, well, the thing is a lot of times when you're doing that, before Obama, you had the pre-existing that didn't exist. They didn't have that. Now you're covered with that with insurance. But back in the day, before they had the pre-existing, I mean, my wife had cancer, and it was gone. And then they told me, and we said we wanted to get insurance. He goes, well, we can cover you, but we can't cover your wife because we'd have to exclude everything that's cancer related. I go, what? And they were going to exclude it. And I said, that's crazy. They goes, well, we can't insure her unless we have that. And I go, then why in the hell do we need it if something happens? And she's cured completely because she had thyroid cancer. They removed it. It's gone. But at the same time, it was a crazy rules until Obama came and said, you have pre-existing not being a factor anymore. They have to give you that. And that was a good thing, So, but before that, I'd have to go and find a job that'll give me insurance. And then I quit after a short period of time. And then I have Cobra and cover it for the next 18 months.
That was one of the scary things when I came to work with Tom, was that I gave up, I had health insurance that was paid. And all of a sudden I was going to pay for myself. And the price is.
Guys, I've lost my sound. So if you're talking, I can't hear anybody.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Go ahead and whatever you need to do. I don't know what the hell's going on with my computer.
All right, let's talk about them then.
I just turned 60, so I'm like a tween. I don't get young man's insurance, and then I can't get Medicare yet, so I'm in that middle room. And some of the insurance, and we're not even talking like an oh my God kind of plan. It's expensive. It's like crazy what it costs. And I wanted to do it, and I was like, why not? So I decided to take a shot. but the insurance is nuts. And I used to work for myself years ago, and I had insurance myself. And even before Obama happened, it was going up every single year. It would be in around October. That's when I would be the thank you note I'd get, where basically your new rate was, and the way it was is I would have to keep changing the deductible. It was getting so high, so it was almost getting to the point where you'd say, like, does it even pay to have health care? Because it was going to cost me so much money. Like even my fiance, the plan she's with now, if something happens, if I get on her plan once we get married in December, if something happens and God forbid it's out of network, like I get in a car accident and they take me to a hospital, it's out of network, I could be responsible up to $100,000 if it's out of network.
Well, then the object is for you to find somebody else to marry until December. There's a solution for everything.
I love you, honey, but the plan's not good enough. I need a better plan. You gotta find a better company.
She's not. I know. The reason we're turning. The other thing I was going to mention, we were talking about training.
Yeah.
Don't forget that Next Level Exchange. They have a program called the Foundation Training. And what they do is they set you up. I think it's about $400 a month. And if somebody's getting into this whole game and you want to teach them how to be a trainer, how to be, a recruiter, that foundation training will explain everything. And they even have little tests in there that you don't necessarily have to pass, but they're like little quizzes as you're listening to it. But it's about 20 modules that are about an hour a piece. And it's really, really good, especially giving somebody a full concept of what a recruiter does as a 360 recruiter. And that's well worth it. The only problem with that is they also will give you exposure to about 1,000 videos of training. Mm-hmm. And people, you have to tell somebody if they're a newbie to stick to only that and go through it a couple of times. And then they're allowed to look at the rest, because if not, you're going to be like a little puppy dog going from here to here to here to there, and you're never going to get the foundation training. So,
hey, Ernie, they switched it again. So I went and looked it up. So it's the Power Pack course, the 7-day trial foundation training is 7-day free trial, and then $300 for 30-day access. So you still get the 7-day trial and cancel.
Okay.
And then
that was a trick.
Yeah, now they have
but just about all their videos are on YouTube now. Like Ernie said, you got to pick and choose the ones based on your level of experience.
Yeah.
But they're basically all out there that are part of their program, because we did their program probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We stopped doing it. We had it for about 3 or 4 years. It was really good, but it was relatively inexpensive then.
It used to be, what was it, $400 a month, and as many people in your office, I think up to 10 people could access it. And then they, out of the blue, they stopped doing that and redid the whole website, and now it's basically $300 a person.
Mm.
So so the trick there, I think, is to get in there, do that 1 week. Get them to focus on it, and that's a week you got to tell them there's no weddings, there's no birthday parties or nothing, but go through this thing, because after that, if you don't pull out, you're stuck for a monthly bill. So you do that, and then you decide what you want to do. But I found that I was able to listen to that thing and I had been doing recruiting for about 10 years, 12 years, and I was able to go in there and listen to it. Because I'd never worked in an office with, all you MRI guys and all you other, whatever else you guys worked with. It was just me by myself. And I was wondering, am I even doing the right thing? And I went in there and I looked at it and I said, okay, yeah, I'm pretty close. So then you did that. And then you get out of it if you figure you don't need to see all the rest. Now, the other thing to that is after you do that, then you say, okay, now what else do I learn? And there is a group with a top echelon group called Learn from Expert Recruiters, Coaches, and Make More Placements. And this one's absolutely free. And this one is, if you look at it, It is, and I'm going to share this screen with you if I may.
Yeah, here, I'm putting the link in the chat too for the webinar. Oh, already did. Yeah, that actually is a good one. Bob Marshall, who's an old school MRI guy, is on there. There's some really good stuff.
Okay, this here is, this is that website. So it's Barbara Bruno, Bob Marshall, Dorshing, and they talk about everything that your little heart can desire. Shally, John Bardos, and John Bardos was just interviewed this last episode of Ben Mena's, the recruiter, Gary Stubble. These guys here, Mosley.
Bob Mosley is the head trainer for Next Level Exchange and was the head trainer for Management Recruiters for years as well.
And then Ray Bory, he's good. Scott Love, of course. So you see, and the other thing too is that
Ben Nader, your friend.
10%. Lower your fee to 10%, you'll get all the business.
That's right. Here we go.
Here we go. And but the thing is this, it's once you sign up for one of these, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you sign up for it and you don't have time to listen to it, they'll email it to you. The only problem here is
the webinars that they put on weekly or whatever.
Yes, so constantly sign up for the webinars and then create within your email a training area folder, and then have that go in there, because
that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea, Ernie.
Then you'll have the dates on it, because you'll see here, you'll ask yourself, well, what's the latest and greatest? Well, they don't tell you. Which one of this did Dorshing do last? And it's a lot of free stuff, but you'll have the latest and greatest if it goes to your email, and you'll say, okay, this they did last week, this they did a month ago, and they do this about once a month, and it's free, and it comes to you, and so you don't have to buy any other sort of tool training. Just go through this, tell them go through this, and then I'll buy you some more.
Yeah, I do. I sit through them every month, and they do the recording. So if you can't sit on it live, you get them. And they usually have, like they just had Greg Dorshing earlier this month, and that was a good webinar that they had. Speaking of webinars, Tom, I saw your name on a webinar yesterday. Did you sit on that maximizing billing with AI? It was a webinar put on. Your name was on there. Like you must have registered for it, but you probably
I ended up not being able to go. It was like 2:00 yesterday or Wednesday.
It was really good. If they do a recording of it, I'll see if I have one. It was funny because when they started off doing it, it's two women, one woman from Ireland, the other one from the UK, and they were doing a search on construction managers in the construction area in Ohio. So it was I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, did you give them this information?
Oh man,
they use Claude, they use ChatGPT, and they use Bard or Gemini now. It was really good. It was really good how they were using AI.
Recruiter, Ultimate Guide, the Maximize Bill. Yeah, I missed that one. Yeah, I did sign up for it though.
I think I have the link. I'll send it to you. Like I said, it was good, and they have a whole platform they put together. Of course, they were selling it at the end.
No, really?
Yeah.
Now, another thing too, I'll tell you guys. So what I'm doing is, some of you may have gotten an email from me. I've set up a list of people that are recruiters that I've met here that have contacted me, and I put you guys in there. And if I find something, I'll send it out to you guys. And you'll see it be individually sent to you, but it's sent to about 32 people that are recruiters. And it's just sharing is caring and all that other BS that we say. But just that every time, I think we should form a group. We should have this group so that if you find something at the very moment that you think, you know what, this is some good info, throw it on there and just send it out to all of us and create it so that we're just sharing and looking at it, because that's the kind of information that if you're exercising, going to the store or whatever, you're listening to it instead of listening to nothing or whatever. or zoning out. You're constantly hearing it, or when you're cutting the grass. And like I tell you, when I'm cutting the grass, I listen to podcasts and I put on those little mufflers, and I can hear it. Without the mufflers, I can't hear it. Put the mufflers on and I can hear the podcast. You know.
Yeah, I do that too.
So just a thought, you know, as combining both. If you're gonna paint a room or do something like that, you can do that. But anytime you guys get an idea, I would gladly hope you would share it with me and, you know, throw it out there. But
I have an idea that I heard. This was years ago. A friend of mine is a realtor, and what they would do, and he would invite me on the link. It would be like this, a Google meeting. They would all basically do like, this is going to be a call blitz we're going to do, and everybody was on the phone at the same time, just to feel like they weren't alone. Because a lot of times when you're working in a house, you're all by yourself. Whereas opposed to that, there's people there, and they would do like an hour call blitz, and they would all be on the phone making calls, but just everybody else would just be, there'd be other people in the space that they wouldn't be alone, and he would do that. I wonder how that would work in our world.
I like being alone.
Not everybody all at once.
No, yes, some people that does work for some people.
Yeah.
But it's also good why you should have individual talks and individual conversations with people. You just you know, to pick up the phone. I mean, I love talking to you guys. You know, somebody will call me, Tim will call me, you know, Tom will call me or whatever, and you just have a conversation about discussing a specific idea. And I know I'm always bugging Tom Malacio there on Saturday morning, and he's somewhere. But those are good times to just be able to chat a little bit, talk, and figure out what the heck's going on. But
I put the link to that video if anybody wants it in the chat.
I downloaded the slides from the class.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna figure out a way to save the video, because the video goes away in 6 days.
Oh.
But I gotta figure out how to. I probably have some software I could. In worst case scenario, I'll screen grab it and record it, because with a Mac I can do a screen recording. But I'll see if I can download it so we can save it.
It was pretty cool, the use cases they were using. And again, they were using Claude, which I've never used, ChatGPT, and Bard, which is now Gemini, and taking job, doing intake calls, and then they were using Gemini, which is formerly Bard, to go out and do research. And, you know, you're going to target these particular companies. Give me the top energy solar companies in the United States that are growing, blah, blah, blah. And it gives you the information. Now break it down and give it to me. Information based on those companies. Give me a link to their websites, the name of their CEO or president, and then dump it all. If you're using Bard or Gemini, you can dump right from there into a Google spreadsheet. It's pretty cool how they do it.
It's like a lot of times you get into some of these Facebook groups, and those guys have good ideas, like the SourceCon group and all that, and some of these AI groups where they're talking about, even if it's another business, they have an idea that you kind of look at and say, maybe could that work within recruiting? Now I have a thought I want to throw out with you guys. It's a crazy one, and I haven't even played with it yet, but maybe this weekend. But you know, when you do a phone screen, and you have, say, within Loxo, let me just share this part, and then I can explain it a lot better, because I'm a little slow here. And you guys can shoot this down or do whatever you can do with it, but my thoughts are this right now. If you were to, you know, normally I would do an intake, and in the intake you would fill out a form, and in filling out the form you would have a candidate question here, like their name or whatever, and then you turn it into a form later on in the information.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of hidden. But basically what you're asking at the very beginning is, you know, what's your current situation? What's your motivation for a career change? What are your salary expectations? Where do you live? Do you rent or do you own? And you're trying to answer all the questions that are not necessarily job related, but all the stuff that you're asking for as the basic background. Because you turn in a resume to them, they go say, well, how much are they making now? What are their expectations? Where do they live? Are they renters? Are they homeowners? You know, here's all the question that I've asked them, and then I get their resume and put it. So, but my question is this: given this, do you think those questions could be put here so that when you're asking those questions, you could just be looking at this stuff and just filling it in?
It would make it easier and less clunky.
Yeah.
Are you talking about creating a custom field that you can put that information in?
Yeah. So
Those-
why would
Why-
you need to be there if the intake's there as well? Like, I don't understand the reason for putting them there.
Because right now I look at this
Mm-hmm.
and I would have all the information right here. And
Okay. So is
So-
all that information important? Because as Tom was saying, you can make custom fields that get populated by those data sheets.
that's why I'm coming to you guys. You know,
So go
but
back to the intake for a second. Go back to your intake.
okay, so
So click on your fill out form, right?
yeah, you get fill out form, I go into here, and
So what tell me of those things, which would you want in that note in the section that you just showed us? What are
See,
those what you want?
this is the information I will send as a Facebook page to someone I'm submitting to in the body of my email. The attached resume would be there. Okay. But my thoughts are this: whenever I do an intake, I could do 2 or 3, but I don't have the updated information all the time. I can make this as an attachment and go to it and say, okay, this is the background on that person. My question becomes, is it, and it's more of a thought, okay? If I quickly want to do an intake, I can do it from here. But if I want to keep that information and know all this stuff and make it searchable.
So so the question would be, of the stuff that's on your phone screen, what of that would you want on that front page? All of it?
All of this, yes. All of this. It's like, you know, what segments, food segments you work, or manufacturing segments have you worked, number of years in management, how's the largest number. So this is kind of like a
So I would say that, like, for numbers of years in management, you should have a different box, just the one that allows you to put a number in. Right?
Uh-huh.
Same with that. Like, a lot of your the way when you design this form, don't take this the wrong way, a lot of stuff you've made it in all, you use the big box for everything, where a lot of this you can do just numbers or select, or the little small box. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. So then that's what you would have to figure out. Like, if you're okay with number of years in management with food manufacturing company, and it's a drop down number 1 through 50 or whatever, then yeah, you could set up custom fields, as Tom was asking, in the area you just showed us, that these would populate into that. Like, if you filled this out, it would auto populate into there.
I don't think these will from here, from an intake. I could be wrong. I tried it before and Les Loxo changed it.
Well, you
That's
have to
why
make the intake
We
form.
created our own, we created our own custom form, not part of the intake section, but we created our own custom form with the
Open your
fields that are
custom form.
mapped.
Open your custom form in the intake section. It should still populate.
Okay, I haven't tried that
Yeah,
lately.
so that custom form you could send to someone. you can
Yeah.
fill out yourself either in the intake section or in the form section, as long as you've built the form to use the operators or whatever. What are they called?
Right.
My brain's not working. As long as you
Yeah,
build it the way
Yeah,
you
you
built it.
map them to the appropriate fields in Loxo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and for my, if I'm not mistaken, Tom, 1 second, Craig. If I'm not mistaken, you can any custom field you make in that area Ernie showed us before, you can make that in a form, correct?
Yeah. I mean, all of this can be in a form.
Yeah.
But my question is this: it's more like sometimes. Wait, I'm sorry, Craig. Go ahead and ask.
Well, I was just going to say that when you create your form, if there's a question type, this is what Tommy was talking about. There's a question type, and you select record field, and that will allow you to choose what custom field that you want that answer to go into.
Mm-hmm.
And
so then my question is, and this is where like I freaking go nuts, you know, when you like overthink something and you make it overcomplicated and you say like what, and then at the end of it you say, why in the heck did I go down that hole, you know? But sometimes it makes sense. But my question is, as I'm looking at people, and if I did this and somehow connected that, could I connect that to something in here?
yeah, absolutely, you can.
Yeah, that's what
You have
those
to
record
rebuild
fields
it.
are.
You have to rebuild it.
Yeah, you would have to rebuild it, but yes.
Yeah, no, that was part of it, and that's why I have you guys here, and that's why I'll call you on Saturday night at 10 o'clock when you guys are half drunk and say, hey, bro, how did
when you build these custom fields, you can decide if you want them to be seen in the I gotta remember the wording.
Because okay.
Show one deal, show one record, showing grid. That's what it is. Right. Yeah. So you can build all the custom fields you want and then decide where they're going to show. Right. So some you're going to have showing grid, like you have next call showed in grid, but do you need next call shown in the record field? Right.
Right.
And then when you build that, you can also, let me see if I can do this here. Add your choose type. Yeah, you could do number, text, date, hierarchy, or year roll up in your customs as well. So you can make custom fields with numbers and that type of stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Adam. Adam, you're probably on mute, Adam. We're oh, he wants to join the call. Sorry. I thought he raised his hand. Go ahead, Tim Lose.
So stemming off this, you know, I love the intake forms, actual forms to actually take and fill out. I love the area where you can actually maybe customize it under the details. But what I'm trying to get at is it's a manual step, because you can take that intake form, throw that into throw that into like Chat GPT, come up with the summarize of that instead of those questions lined out, and make it look a little bit nice. My question is this wonderful generate Loxo profile doesn't really pull from hardly anything. You know, it pulls from
the assessment area.
Okay. All right.
So anything you put in the assessment, wait a second. No, I'm sorry. It pulls from the intake area. Anything you put in intake will come up on the Loxo branded resume. So Ernie, under Crystal Lake, the little branded resume there, click on that and then when you click on that, and then see all those things. So see where it says assessments and everything. So leave everything checked, hit open profile, and you'll see the stuff in intake that says at Next Level Exchange Search LLC, we specialize. That should be on his branded resume. Go ahead, Ernie.
Yeah.
Hit open profile.
That I didn't share that part. I'm sorry. I got it.
Okay, just hit open. Oh, yeah, because I forgot you're doing it the other way.
Yeah, hold on. I got to stop presenting that and find the other one here. Here it is. And that
Yeah,
becomes
so it shows his summary. Summary is intake in the branded resume. So the summary, whatever's in intake, will come up underneath summary. So if you want, and you can decide what you want. Like, do you want, his picture? Do you want the phone numbers? Do you want the avatar? Do you want the name of the company, your company, or just your logo? So whatever is in intake will come up under summary. So you could take that thing and run it through ChatGPT, and then whatever you get, drop that into intake, and that's what's going to come up under summary. So it takes a little bit of to figure it out, but you can absolutely make these Loxo resumes look really good if you understand which ones. Like I don't understand in the assessment, because you can have assessments in there, and I've never assessments. From my understanding, is when you share a Loxo job with a client, for him to look at all the resumes, he can then write an assessment of that candidate. 5 stars, yes, I want to interview him. No, find out if he's got this, yada yada yada. So I'm wondering,
has anybody ever done that? Has anybody ever used this Loxo resume? Because I know I've never used it.
I use the branded resume all the time. I call it my confidential data sheet.
Okay.
I love it. I just realized you can use it.
well, and the times you'd probably use it is when they have a messed up resume, but it's kind of like halfway decent. You can kind of fix it. And you can go in and play with it a little bit and create something for them. Yes, Donna, you've raised your hand.
I don't know. I'm excited about this because I've never seen the branded resume, or I've never used it. But I like what Tommy said too. Like, it can just be your own personal kind of information on that person. So if you're talking to a client, boom, you pick it up and your stuff is there. So my question is, so all of the information that's on the right side, like under the details, then will that go into the branded resume?
So here, let me share my screen, because I'll share the entire screen so everything pops up.
Or maybe it's just the assessment information.
So assessment and intake will both show, but you have to make sure you put it in. So let's look at Joshua. We're looking at Joshua Ostrom, right? So his intake doesn't have anything. We find somebody with some information in their intake. Okay, so here, assistant project manager, I'm a senior construction manager, yada, 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 right? So if we just look at what is there, then here's assessment. There's nothing in assessment right now, but you can make an assessment, and I could put in anything I wanted in here about this candidate, right? I could leave an assessment. And when you leave an assessment, it also will show up on the brand. When I leave an assessment, it will show. So I submit the assessment, right? And that's just, because we're not sharing our screen or not sharing the jobs with our clients, the assessment really, that's what that's for. But once you hit the branded resume, then you have choices, what you want to show, right? So right now we're going to show what everything is. So what we're going to do is that's the agency name and the agency logo, his name, his avatar, his current position, his location, and then his bio is the same as summary. So that's what was underneath. This right here was underneath intake. It was underneath intake. Then it's going to show his experience, and you knowing that, you can go in here and you can fix the experience if you want. If you wanted to get rid of this intern, you could delete it so it doesn't show up. And his education. And then see here, it says assessments. When I leave an assessment, it will show. So what I wrote in the assessment section is also going to show up. Now, you can uncheck assessments, uncheck avatar. That's because this is what I do. Uncheck agency name, and it open profile that way. And then you get this, right?
Now, do you just copy and paste that then onto a Word doc and send it to
then I hit this right here. I hit print, save as PDF, save. Cody Ingwell data sheet, and boom, now I can take it, close it. I can come over here and I can add, if I want to, I can go to here and hit plus,
drop in. Jeez.
Let's see how it looks.
And there it is.
Oh yeah, it looks good.
That's awesome.
Also, with that, you can also make it an attachment.
Yeah, and you can also take it here if you want, under details. If you want to see it, you can add it right here to attachments. And see it there.
Now, so you could actually send that to a client, but maybe take off the name or something, right?
Yeah, oops. Sorry about that. Yeah, you could send, and that's the thing too, because of the way that the thing works, right? So when we do another branded resume, like if it's a company you've never worked with before, just do that.
Yeah.
Right here.
Wow.
And boom, you got a summary of a project manager, right? At Findor, you can even get rid of his current position
right there.
Right? You get rid of his current position.
That's perfect.
Right? You can get rid of it. You put whatever you want, right? And then, as Tony was saying, or somebody, we could take his profile, right, and run this.
Yeah.
Go to his here, right, and then run a chat on here. Whoops. And once we get the summary of Cody, right, it's right in this right here.
Wait, where did you? What did?
Oh, I'm using an add-on. This is like ChatGPT, right? So I'm going to copy with formatting, right? Then I'm going to come over to here, to Cody, go to back to the intake where we got this little bit. We can leave that if you want. We can come down here, drop that in there, right?
What did you? Was that just a ChatGPT? Like
Chrome
shortcut?
extension, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Now look at this.
That looks nice.
I'm looking at Donna going, what?
So here is, now we can get rid of, I didn't fix it, but now we got this nice summary, key takeaways, his experience, boom, right? There's your, you don't need, this is what I tell people all the time. I don't ever need resumes from candidates because I have this. If I submit this to a client, they don't ever ask me for a resume. Because I'm going after, I always tell them, we're going after people who are gainfully employed, who don't have updated resumes. I'm sending you a confidential data sheet. Once you interview him, I'm sure he'll get his resume to you. And you can also use, and I'll share this with those who I haven't shared them with before, but Trisha has these GPTs that she
prompts.
Yeah,
prompts.
I'm not signed in, so give me a second. These prompts that she has, they're called GPTs or whatever. And she, God dang it.
Tom, that Max AI thing you were using, do you pay for that or is that a free
Yeah,
one?
I pay for that.
Okay.
It's only $20 a month, and it is absolutely fantastic.
Is that what you use to summarize the Max AI?
I do. I mean, because it's right there, right?
Yeah, I
don't
love
have to
that.
copy the, I mean, it takes time to copy. I know I'm lazy, but it takes time to copy and paste and all that. So this is Trish's, right? Her candidate presentation starting point. Now you do have to actually copy all of his stuff because ChatGPT, God darn it, has not figured. Actually, maybe I could do this. Let me see.
Save to PDF.
Yeah, save the PDF. Profile.
You can drop the PDF in.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
As an attachment. There you go.
So hers, right, is much better than what, because they wrote this GPT, right? So you could take this and drop it in there, and it gives potential areas of concern, moving forward, everything. And then you could just take right here where it says copy, and then come back into Cody's here, and then we'll put this in.
But there do you want to do that as a plain text? No, it doesn't have the. If you copy,
yeah, you're gonna have to fix the formatting because it doesn't grab the. They use I can't remember what that's called, but anyway.
What would happen if you pasted that as plain text? You copy that. Now go back to your profile.
What's it? Copy.
Yeah.
And
then the pasting is plain text. Can you do that? Right click.
Paste and match style. or force paste? Anybody?
Try that one. Paste and match style.
There we go. So now, using hers, you really have a nice.
Wow. So, okay.
So what did you use there, Tom? Just to, you don't have to go step by step, but what did you use to get all that together? Were you using the Tricia Tamkin?
Yeah. So for
GPT?
that particular
Okay.
thing, you're using her GPTs, which are right here, and I'll share those with you guys so everybody has them. I'll share them in the. And then I say, and so there's those. Did they come? One,
Yeah,
2,
thank
3,
you.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, they came. So you could save them in your sidebar here, right? So they're always there if you pay for ChatGPT. First of all, just so you know, you have to pay for ChatGPT to use these.
Yeah, it's like 20 bucks a month.
They
Right?
will work on the free version. Okay. And so to answer your question, Tom, basically, if I was going to do this for a client, like if I was going to submit Cody, what I would probably do, realize I don't have a resume on him, right? So I would just go to his LinkedIn profile. I wouldn't use Tricia. I would just hit my Merlin, right? Or Max, I mean, and hit summarize, and it would summarize this for me. I then drop it into this, hit the branded resume, and boom, I'm ready to go, right? So if I was submitting this candidate, that's how I would do it. And that allows me to be able to submit him quick without worrying about a resume. In the old days, I used to download the LinkedIn profile and call that my confidential data sheet. But I like the way that
The way it's branded looks good.
We got our logo. I can manipulate what I want on there. You know, because I would probably, like with the Trish thing, I would take out the potential areas of concern and then moving forward. But I have that in my back pocket, right? I use more Trisha stuff to have in my back pocket if they were to say to me, well, he's got a short tenure as an assistant PM. And I can say, well, yeah, I get that, but his rapid progression in the construction industry and the diverse skill set he's developed can mitigate that. Don't you agree?
So you could put that actually in the assessments and then not send the assessments.
Yeah. Or
right?
you
Is
could
that
put
true?
it in the intake, right?
You just delete it.
Yeah, I guess put it in the intake, right? Oops. And not put the assessment part in the bottom, or put put the entire amount in the intake and only put the stuff I want in assessment. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it, right? But yeah, you could take all of that and have it in assessments and only take the stuff you want and put that in intake to give you the branded resume you want.
Or you can use that and then bring some down to the bottom portion of it. You know, that you were talking about that bottom category that you had.
Yeah, I mean, you could put under assessments, if you really wanted to be fancy, put the potential areas of concern under the assessment part, right?
Yeah.
So we take this,
Yeah.
we hit copy, we delete that,
Yeah.
we hit assessments.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I haven't even tried that. That's going to look really cool.
And
then
do all that and do an NPC campaign. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then
I'm with Donna. This is blowing my mind. I've never thought about using this.
right, so we got our summary, qualifications, and then we got our assessment down here, potential areas of concern.
Yeah,
and instead of potential areas of concern, you can write based on my conversation with this person.
Yeah. But
So
the thing about that is you can take that out. Like it would be super easy if it's under an assessment to just take it out if you didn't want to use it, rather than erase it every time, but when you want to go to it privately, you can just click it and it's right there.
And then the other thing you can do is take that, copy it, and if you don't really like the wording on it, you go into ChatGPT and you write, please improve, : and then paste that in there.
Mm-hmm.
And ChatGPT may come up with a better version.
I don't know if we ever answered your question though, Ernie, in terms of, you know, does that information show on the right-hand side of the details?
Well,
It will if you set it up properly.
what it showed me was that if I don't know how to do it, I'll call Tom, or Craig.
Then call me.
How's that look? Now,
Call you,
guys?
but I mean that's
Mix it up
that's
a
the
little
whole
bit.
point.
We
That's
got
the whole point of it. You
bold
figure out.
under current job title, bold under summary, bold under qualifications, his experience, his education, his assessment.
I mean, it's like perfect. I don't even
That's solid. I wish I could bold the assessment part, and I probably need to take some formatting between qualifications and experience, right? Because that doesn't look solid. So go back over to intake.
Going to where is he?
This might be a whole meeting.
But that's what it's all about. It's like that's the beautiful part about it.
There we go. I got rid of that space. So now I got experience, education, assessments, right? We can get rid of this assistant project manager stuff that was in there. You could get rid of the assistant project manager of Findorf if you wanted, right? Like that is as good as any resume that a candidate's going to make, right? You got a solid summary, his qualifications, and a little bit of his areas of concern. I mean, any client would jump all over that.
And the second part of that though is you make sure that your candidate has a copy of that.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, why not? Hey, I made an assessment on you.
Well, mainly because you don't want your candidate bringing up their funky resume.
Yeah, that's
Or
true.
different.
Yeah.
And then they start asking questions.
Oh, so I do say that. I don't send them this, but I say, by the way, since you don't have a resume, we have something called a confidential data summary that we present that I pull off your LinkedIn. Now, we're doing this search for electrical guys, and none of these guys got resumes, and their LinkedIn says electrician, current. That's it. So that's been somewhat of a pain.
So what do you do with that?
There's nothing I can do with that. These
Okay.
guys have no information on their LinkedIn whatsoever. They just made them because they're electricians, right? They figured they needed them. There's literally no information.
So can you get some other information somewhere else, like in using Trish's employment stuff? She has one on background on understanding the.
Yeah, you could probably put in like what an industrial maintenance tech is and get some information there and say that he does that. Huff, you raised your hand. What's up?
Yeah, you guys may have answered this now since I raised my hand, and I don't really redo resumes. When I have a relationship with my client, if I present someone to them, I expect them to interview them.
Yeah, me too.
And now there are some that may want some additional information or more questions. I kind of do that real time on a real pitch versus doing all this information. But I can see where it would be helpful if someone doesn't have a resume or you've collected some information. If it says electrician, I would just go to the job description and ask ChatGPT to rewrite that job description as the resume.
Yeah, I mean, that's really like all I did. But most of these guys, once I talked to them, actually were able to send me a resume. So it wasn't that big of a deal. And the client, again, because I've never, and this is, I agree with you. Most of the time I can get a send out without a resume 99% of the time. This particular client who I do it all the time with, I've never worked on this type of search. So I don't even know if I have a qualified candidate other than the basic questions that I asked them. So in this particular search, I'm wanting resumes or something that I can give to the client to say, here, this is the guy, right? They all have the basic qualifications, but I'm not confident enough in my own abilities to be able to screen these guys properly. And they didn't ask me to do that. They're just like, find us. These are too hard for us to find industrial maintenance techs that want to move to the middle of nowhere. And I was able to do it. So
yeah, I've noticed some clients that want a lot of detail tend to look at resumes for why they shouldn't interview them versus why they should interview them.
Now, and Donna, going back to your question of did you answer my question? My real question was, am I getting too anal about it? Is it getting too, sometimes you start doing a lot of stuff that you really don't need to do. And somebody has to slap you upside the head and say, Ernie, why don't you just back off and just put it here? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, Ernie, because a lot of times I will do the same thing. I'll put all that information in intake, and it just seems like it would be easier. You're looking at this right here just to put it in. But, you know, all of that stuff that's over on, you know, right there under details. I mean, like that's all of that information you can sort and search. So I don't know if you want everything that you would want in intake, if you necessarily needed that to be sort and search. So I think it might be overkill. Now that first I thought it'd be a great idea. Now I think put it in intake. When you need it, organize it through a GPT chat and you're golden. But I like using the form too, just like you, Ernie. I use the exact same form.
So there's something that I do, especially since I've changed systems over the years, is I keep a Word document, and whenever I'm having a conversation with anybody, I put their name as a heading, the date, and then I just start doing bullet points of everything. And when I'm done with that conversation, I copy it, paste it into activity. So I've got a reference to it. But what's nice about this document, which has like 15,000 pages or something, is I can do a control find and I can find every conversation of every word or anything regarding that person. And so I don't even have to use my CRM to do that. And I've done that when I've changed CRMs, because you'll notice sometimes when you make conversions, you can map fields and take that data, but you can't take the notes and activities a lot of times easily without doing some expensive conversion, which may or may not work. And so this way I can go back to conversations I've had 15 years ago and have the exact notes. People, gosh, I can't believe you remember that about a conversation.
So you keep it all in a document?
I have a Word document open the whole time. I used to write on a pad or use forms a long time ago, but I just started using a Word document, and it's just everything is in there. So
you keep that as a template that's available to pop up anytime you go on a.
Well, I just open it up. So if I were talking to you,
show us how you do it. Show us how you do that.
Yeah, and Huff, are you typing it as you're talking to the person?
Yeah.
See, I can't do that. I'm not.
Yeah, so,
I can't. That's why I got to use like a meta view or something to record it and transcribe it.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
So while he's looking for that, Ernie, one of the things you could do is say to yourself, what is really the most important stuff you want populated from the form, and put that in the details. And then when you save the form, it's easy to look at, right? So if you're talking, you can go to intake real quick and open the form up, and it's all right there.
See, what I do normally is I have a template that I use as a Word document. I save it in Word, bring it down as an attachment, and I have it. And each time somebody talks to that person, I always put the name, the Billy Johnson phone screen, 52424, and it'll pop up exactly. But I was getting lazy. And it's one of those thoughts that as you're walking around, you're thinking, I wonder if I could do this. We've done that before, Tom, and then we're going back and forth. And so just
it's easy to overthink it. I agree. I do it all the time.
So what do you got? Go ahead.
For whatever reason, my screen is not allowing me to move around on it.
So is this so when we were today, you just open up a Word document and are pasting everything in everything we talked about?
Yep, I'll show you. I'll give you some good examples of it if I can figure out how to share this with it working.
When you hit share on the far top right, it should say entire screen. Choose entire screen.
So I think what I'm hearing Huff say is that he takes all of his notes on everything he does, right? In Word.
So you can see my screen now?
We can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So while we're on the call, I got a call. This is a personal thing here, but this is a Recruiter Roundtable. And earlier I spoke to this guy here about accepting a job. He was talking to one of my clients. There's my notes. And what I do is highlight anything that when I've highlighted their name.
James just texted you.
I put, all right, see this one right here, Jeremy Paul. So I spoke to this. So all I do is come here and copy this right here. There's his current activity. Whatever notes I have, I just use outline format.
Are you typing this yourself?
What's that?
How many words a minute can you type? Huh?
Oh, I don't know. But then, I'll flip over to my, what was this guy's name? Jeremy Paul. So if I come over here to, so there he is. And I'm waiting for it to pop open. You can see my locks though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So then activity. So all I did was come in here, and that's what I just put in there. So I've got all my notes right there.
Dude, so do you keep it on the Word
God,
document?
look at his Ernie. Look at his details. Jesus Christ.
Okay, let's do it.
Holy cow.
Huff, I want you to know this makes you like a nerd. you're like a power nerd, you know.
Well, now wait a minute, Ernie. Now look at my fields. How much customization?
I mean, what?
Oh my God!
Jesus Christ!
Wait,
But I
how did
always
you
know
even
who
do
refers in,
that?
who put comments. I have a decline reason, like why did they do it? They declined because money, whatever.
And that is what I was talking
But
about.
you have declined over in rejected.
Well, wait till you see my.
Wait, I have a quick question, Huff. So you take it out of your Word document and then you put it
Real
in
quick,
here.
I'm going to shut the streaming down because we're getting into a lot of like proprietary info. Hey, everybody, thanks for showing up, but we're going to go to stuff that probably doesn't need to be seen by the whole world. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Smile and dial. I was told to tell everybody subscribe and like the video. I think that's what you're supposed to do, even though I don't give a shit about money. Have a great weekend, and we will see you later.
You can send me the money.
Well, you just got flagged, Tom, by saying shit.